Welcome back to another episode of Hey, Did You See This One? My name is Steve. I am your host this week. And this week, we are continuing on with our theme of, it doesn't really have a name, it's just animation that is not necessarily strictly for children. Things that deal with heavy subject matter and visuals and sometimes lots of swearing. And yeah, this is going to be
the title.
Yeah. We'll turn it into a real nice abbreviation. But this
adult
week
animation.
We are no, I don't want to call it adult animation.
No, because this
really
movie
gives
specifically
up
does have some. This movie does specifically have some stuff in it that maybe isn't for kids, but it's also so toned down that the PG-13 rating is very fair. Like there's some decapitation and there's some like blood and there's some pretty horrifying scenes towards the end. But I don't think this movie is like, it's not like Akira where the whole thing is like a cyberpunk adult fantasy.
Yeah.
You know.
Yes.
Horrifying.
And with that, I will say the title of the movie we're doing, which is Princess Mononoke. I always called it Mononoke as a kid, so I have it stuck in my head as Mononoke. I did see this movie as a child, and it is one of my, I think, most watched probably animated movies.
VHS
that I
rented.
I had it on DVD. I mean, when I say a kid, I mean like a 13-year-old.
Gotcha. Okay.
This movie came out in 1997. If I had it as a kid, I'd be some sort of time traveling monster.
I could have had it as a kid. I was fucking 8 years old in 97. No, I was 9
you were 11
years old.
or something.
I was born in 1985.
Yeah,
so
I was about to say
maths.
I was 10 years old in 1997.
I was 13.
So I don't know how that makes sense. Yeah,
I was 13.
But I guess this will bring us into when we first saw this movie. And I guess since I've already started, I will go first, but I'll introduce you both. Before that, Jason and Kaylin, did you guys see this one? Hey, did you see this one?
Hey.
Okay.
No, I didn't watch it this week. I didn't bother.
Yeah, and I've never seen it, and I never will see it.
I never will. I hate. I almost said something horrible.
Okay. So yeah, the first time I saw Princess Mononoke was, well, I remember seeing the trailer for it first, and a big cutout standee when I was a kid for summer camp. If it was raining, they were close enough to the city that they would sometimes load us into a bus and just take us to a movie theater and watch a movie. But I wasn't super similar to Akira with anime, so I wasn't really sure what was considered good or bad or too spooky for me or too kiddie for me. You know, stuff from like Hello Kitty all the way up to things like Akira that we watched last week. There was no real way for you to tell unless somebody told you. But this one was very intriguing to me, and I believe I was seeing the movie Mulan. I don't know for sure. I think it was Mulan, but I remember seeing the trailer for this movie.
Early. Oh no, never mind.
Mulan was too early?
97? Or was it after? Like it wasn't when it was released.
Mulan came out in like 96, so it stands
Mulan?
to reason. I think so.
1998.
Man, was it like Aladdin? Like
okay,
90?
but sorry, this movie came out in 1997 in Japan, so it may have taken a few years for it to arrive here.
Gotcha.
And I don't even know if it was released in 1977, Star Wars, 1997, or if it was just made. Anyway, off topic. The first time I saw the trailer, I think I was seeing Mulan, and I was blown away by what I saw and the music, and I was like so intrigued by it. And then I saw Mulan and completely forgot all about it until I saw it. And I saw it when movies would go on cable, but it was like that really high tier cable where it was like channel 400, and they would play like random movies all day long with like no breaks really. I saw it. Yeah, it was sort of like that. Yeah, okay, yes, movie channels. I saw it for the first time on one of those, and it was like it had just started, and I had like disappeared the memory of the trailer in my mind, and I sat down and I think I was doing laundry. I was putting socks together, and then I just like became totally engrossed, and I was like, this is like a Disney movie, but like way cooler and better than any Disney movie I've ever seen. And I think that was sort of the main thing that stuck out to me, is that the music and the animation all felt sort of inviting in the way that a Disney movie would, but then it also has these sort of edgy things to it and this like mysticism and this heavy lore that is like a little bit more complex for a child to deal with. And I was like right in that sort of like sweet spot for thinking that things were a little bit too childish for me, and then being introduced into things that were maybe a little bit too mature for me. And this kind of like fit right into the pocket of amazement. I was going to say amusement, but I was amused, but I was more than amused. I was amazed. And so that was the first time that I went through it, and I ended up getting it on DVD somehow and have watched it 100 times since then. I was mentioning to Jason before this that when I was a teenager and in my early 20s, anytime I was really sick or had to stay home from school, this was one of the movies that I would put in and just like lay like a vampire, like breathing heavily, like this movie is so good. And yeah, I guess we'll move on to Jason. When was your first time seeing this film?
Much like Akira last week, this Japanese animated Studio Ghibli film was shown on Showcase quite a bit.
This
I
one?
was, yeah. And there's kind of two bits to it. I did actually watch this movie around when it came out. I think before this I'd only seen it twice. Once around my teenage years. Then I probably watched it in my 20s when I was super into anime. Like I was super duper into anime from about 21 to about 24. And I watched a bunch of Studio Ghibli movies. What
stopped you at 24?
Well, I kind of lost where I was in a couple of the shows, and I don't know, I felt like it's not like really growing out of it if you're like already in your 20s. I just kind of fell off that vibe, I guess. I kind of got more into like sitcoms, like sitcom television and like hour-long dramas and stuff. Anyway, so I'd seen this a couple times, but this movie was like always on in the background at like people's houses when I was a teenager. I feel like it's just one of those movies where it would just be on, I always associate it with this feeling of just like quiet happiness, almost like it's a very quiet movie. It's a very relaxing movie. I think that Steve's using it for sick days is perfect. It's totally that. Like there's like full 15-minute segments where not much is said or nothing is said, and it's just stuff happening on the screen. And it's not intrusive, and it's not. In fact, unfortunately, I watched the first half of the movie early in the day, and then I watched the second half when I was done working, and I was wiped out, and I almost fell asleep, just because it was so like there's so many like even during the big battles. Excuse me. Towards the end, there's a lot of like really chill moments. And I hope, Kaylin, you ask later in the show, like you did last week, what our favorite like scenes, like our favorite shots are, because this movie is like Forest Akira for that. Like there's a lot of just like crazy moments, crazy matte paintings, but the animation is clearly enhanced by CGI at this point in movie making history, because there's so many like layers of things happening, and it has a different vibe. It doesn't look like it's all been hand drawn together. It looks like it's layers on layers on layers in a different way. So yeah, in summation, basically I've seen this movie a lot, but I've seen it from like the halfway point to the end a lot. And I've seen the moment where you first see the wandering spirit, like the big version of the spirit, and all the little things going. I've seen that part probably 50 times. So yeah, Kaylin, tell us about it.
That was a good part. This was my first time seeing it. I only just maybe within the last like 2 years, I think I saw the thumbnail on Netflix. The name of it didn't grab me. Like when I saw the thumb, like I haven't seen it till now, and like just the name of it didn't grab me. It looked kind of cool. I figured I'd probably get around to it eventually. So I was excited to have this one for this month's group of films. But no, yeah, this is my introduction to it. I watched it the other night, and then again today, in between calls. And it does have, so to what you were saying, Jason, there is some sort of like soothe, like it's, and I guess to like kind of your original or not original or like what you were saying, Steve, about like it being a comfort movie to you. And I don't even know how to explain it, but there's something soothing about it.
When I think about Princess Mononoke, I don't think of any, like when I think of Akira, I think of explosion sounds, and I think of Tatsuo, and I think of like all this loudness on the screen and in my head.
Busy, very busy.
But when I think about this movie, my head is just it's just silent and like just animated pictures of rolling hills and forest, and like the main character, Ashitaka on the back of his on the back of his antelope thing, just like riding through fields, and just like Princess Mononoke like flying through the air, and they're just going whoosh, like whooshing sounds more than anything. And I see a big influence in the video game Breath of the Wild that directly relates to this movie, and I never really put that together before. I don't know if Kaylin, you don't play many video games, so I don't imagine you played it. But Steve, I think you played.
I play video games.
Yeah, did you play The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild though?
No, because I don't like chibi. I don't like chibi.
It's not.
It's not chibi?
No. Breath of the Wild is like you're adult Link and it's open world and you go around and
it's very much cool. Princess Mononoke. Like it looks very much visually like this movie that you just watched.
Nice.
What were you
I'm assuming you put this one on the list, right, Steve?
I did, because I was not sure if you had seen it, and I thought that you might enjoy it. And it's one of my favorite animated movies. So I don't know if it's not the best Ghibli movie for certain. There are definitely better Ghibli movies.
I liked Howl's Moving Castle better than this movie in retrospect, and I unfortunately gave this not a low rating, but I may have given it a lower rating than it deserves. But I think that so many things have come after it.
Yeah, I was gonna say this isn't the best Ghibli movie, but for me personally, it is 100% the one that I've watched the most amount of times in my life. And there's a specific reason for that, and it's because I find myself so comfortable in it, and I can look away for a moment and don't feel like I've lost a large chunk of story, visual, or overall sort of like narrative. And like you were saying, how everything sort of has this relaxed feel to it. I like even every beat of music, even up until the battle music that kind of like thunderously goes over top of these fights. But I wouldn't even some people would say like, yeah, the action parts, and I'm like, I wouldn't even call these action parts. I would call them like battles accompanied by battle music, because it's got this sort of like swelling horn section that's like not too hard or edgy. It's just kind of like everything feels like it's waves coming at you. And the visuals feel that way too. Like almost everything is like sort of like rolling hills of endlessness until you find something. Like you find Irontown, or you find Ashitaka's village, or you're in the forest of the little rattly ghost skeletons or whatever. It's like these chunks of this endless world. And you hear about the emperor, and you know that the samurai gangs exist, but you don't really know where they are, and like to look in any direction. You're like, I expect to see rolling green hills that way and rolling green hills that way.
It's a very small scale story for how grand the meaning behind it is, and how big a deal like the spirit of the forest is, and how much it controls. And did you guys kind of find that this was sort of an allegory for like modern pollution? Because that's what I kept thinking of.
I don't know if I would say, like, I don't know if that's the complete intent. It's definitely part of it. I think it's probably more a response to like industrialization and like people losing themselves and people becoming
no longer
a
balanced.
specific thing that is no longer like connected to the world that they come from. Like I think the message is like, we all technically come from the forest. Like we all started in the forest and we're part of the forest, just like the wolves and the boars and the monkey and the ape tribe. We're part of that once, but now we've separated ourselves, and we only thrive on like destruction. But even like what's her name? The Iron Lady.
Lady Eboshi.
Lady Eboshi, yeah. She like even doesn't feel like she's fully cut off from the forest either, you know, like and no one does fully. She's
a really interesting character because she's not like all the Disney villains, all the Disney evil stepmoms, or you know, Cruella de Vil, they always
like 100%.
They always make them, yeah. That's why it's always weird now where they make movies like Maleficent, and they make the one about Cruella where they make them like likable. Maleficent I haven't seen, but from the trailers I get the vibe that she's like this evil, super evil person who's like always cracking wise.
Angelina Jolie, right?
Yeah. And then
she got like the shit end of a stick or whatever,
but I did see the Cruella
the
de
allegory
Vil
for that movie is real rough. I don't really want to talk about it. That's how rough it is.
The Cruella de Vil movie with Emma Stone was good, but you don't. It's really hard to like forget.
Is it Emma Stone? I thought it was Margot Robbie.
No, it's Emma Stone. It's really hard. Yeah, it's really hard to forget that Cruella de Vil in 10 years from, I guess she's like
looking it up.
You know, 20 in this movie. When by the time she's 40, she's trying to literally turn 100 Dalmatians into a fur coat. And she'll stop at nothing to destroy this poor family. And I think that the story of 101 Dalmatians is even that like the family's trying to have kids, but she can't get pregnant, so they get these puppies, which adds this whole other layer of like this horrible woman trying to do these horrible things. And then you just kind of make her like a sweet punk who's trying to like take down the fashion industry. And it kind of goes, dude, like, but in Princess Mononoke, this character right from the beginning, the way that she explains herself, you're kind of when Ashitaka first meets Lady Eboshi, you kind of see it from her point of view briefly. She's like,
like at every moment that you think, oh man, this lady is kind of maybe evil, they show you something that's like, no, she isn't. She's helping lepers.
No, she's helping the lepers. Yeah. You know, I think the lepers are just, they have that poisoning that Ashitaka has. I think that's kind of how that's explained. Or they literally lepers?
No, they're just lepers.
No, they're just
like they're from like the cities and stuff. She took them in when they got cast out of the cities. Yeah.
Why don't you give us a quick little elevator's pitch of what this? Well, maybe I said that wrong.
Elevator synopsis, I think is what you mean.
Yeah.
Okay. So, you know, the movie opens with, depending on which version you watched. This time I watched the English dub. I've seen both, but I was kind of feeling a little crummy yesterday, and I was like, I just want to hear Keith David's sweet voice.
I want to hear Billy Bob Thornton be a dickhead.
Gods and
man, I thought it was Nicolas Cage, and I don't know why.
It's not. I mean, in some movies he has sort of like a southernish drawl, but like, and it sounds like maybe he was doing a cartoonish one, because Billy Bob Thornton in this movie, it almost seems like he probably delivered his lines in the way that he would normally in a regular Billy Bob Thornton performance. But then because he's so like, they had to like chop chunks up and stick them right next to each other. And I'm like, I think they manipulated his dialogue a lot in this movie, or he just didn't give a shit and gave a bad performance.
Well, just before you do the synopsis, I did want to mention that this compared to Akira, I'm going to do a lot of comparing to Akira just because it's so fresh in my head and they're so like compare and contrast movies. But the animation style for their mouth movement, it's almost like they didn't focus as much on animating because even if you put Japanese in their mouth, it would still just look like their mouth is going open and closed.
Up and down, yeah. And as opposed to like shaping the mouth, right?
Exactly. And I think that's like intentional, but it also, in my opinion, works better. It's not as distracting when they're just jamming English words into clearly somebody speaking in Japanese. And that's what I was saying last week, how I wish they had just done it like they do old Japanese kung fu movies where they're just talking over over their mouths moving. I'm not really trying to fit it as hard. But yeah, sorry, Steve, cut you off. buddy.
Okay. No, we were just talking about Billy Bob Thornton. We can get into the cast in a second, but yeah, the main story is of a prince of a small tribe named Ashitaka. He is, it kind of pans down to his swash of the never-ending green hills of the world where this movie takes place in. After a beautiful Keith David speech, kind of explaining that the world is meant for gods and for demons, and there are other things within the world. Yes, what would you like to say, Kaylin?
I was gonna say right quick, I don't think we planned this. We're all black and white.
Okay. No, we didn't. Much like
I have a wolf on my shirt.
Much like this movie, the morality and the moral bindings of Ashitaka, he sees the world as very black and white at first, and realizes just how many shades of gray exist.
Way to connect.
Yeah.
Like that time we all wear sunglasses.
Yeah, we didn't plan
So
that
cool.
either. It was crazy. So anyway, we pan down to this village. I don't really know what I think they might mention the name of the village, but they also, Billy Bob Thornton infers that they're thought to have been extinct for like 500 years or something crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So it's,
They also infer that he traveled super far to get to Irontown. Like he traveled really far. We just don't get any like really real traveling montage.
Yes. So he is he runs into some other villagers, tells them that something's wrong, and he goes up this sort of like watchtower where he meets another man up there who I'm not sure. I think that's just supposed to be a village elder, but it's kind of like unsure of where he falls into this town, except that he's the prince, I guess, because they keep calling him the prince.
Oh, right. Yeah.
But anyway, a giant monster made of
he's a hands-on
dogs.
Prince. He doesn't sit back behind the
I
line.
think it's such a small township that even the royalty or whatever you want to call them are the ones that protect. But he goes and a giant monster made of rotten noodles comes out of the forest, and
I thought they were worms. Are they not worms?
They're like weird demonic pustules.
Demonic worms.
Yeah. I think it's just supposed to be the essence of evil is coming out of him, or the curse is trying to gain form. But in the process of fighting this thing, he gets a bunch of the evil spaghetti on his arm, and it like burns him and like absorbs into him sort of, and he's cursed. And we cut to them attempting to clean the wound, and the boar that is revealed after all the evil melts away basically says like, all of you are gonna burn and feel as much pain as I've ever felt, and I don't care for your prayers or whatever. Yeah. And then he turns into a big pile of bones and meat, and it's really kind of gross looking. And then we kind of cut to a meeting of the elders of the village, and the wise woman, as she's referred to, and she's kind of like throwing some rocks and bones and leaves and stuff, and I'm not sure exactly what she's doing, but it seems like she's trying to determine the fate of Ashitaka, but basically says, you can't outrun your fate. I think, what did she say? She says, you cannot alter your fate, my prince, however you can rise to meet it if you choose, which is basically her saying, go to the forest where this boar came from and try and figure out where this demon was spawned from, and maybe we can get rid of the curse on your arm. And all the guys in the village are like, no, we can't just abandon our prince. And then he cuts his hair off, and he cuts his hair off, right? Yes, he does. He cuts his hair, which gives him sort of like a little short haircut, which is really cool.
Right there. Well, you guys can't see it, but right there. That's the haircut I want.
Oh, you're pointing to yourself?
No,
wow.
You do. Kalen kind of does have the hairstyle, but I think Kalen is saying that his my Zoom videos are above Kalen, but he might be above us on his.
All right, movie. I can't pay attention to it then. Don't need
to. My bad.
Yeah.
Also, the haircut's right there or there.
Oh, okay, Steve, your Instagram is like it's been spinning.
Is it still spinning?
It's like on and off.
What about the rest of us?
You guys seem fine to me, but I guess
you look fine on mine.
Oh. He's not spinning on yours?
Nope.
Okay, fine. That's fine. That's good because as long as his is good, it'll upload and it won't have any choppiness to it. So my bad. Continue, please.
Hey viewers, if you enjoyed these ad libs, stay tuned or something.
Stay tuned for more of this because we've only been going for a half hour. Oh, now he's frozen in the Zoom call.
Okay, now I actually did.
And now he's gone from the Zoom
Damn it!
call.
Why did I make a joke?
Well, so
hello.
This is a little bit of technical difficulty.
Wait, no, he's back on Insta. He's making a face, a very confused face.
I can see him. He's chopping in and out. Do I invite him back to the Zoom call?
Are you allowed to?
I can probably do it. He'll probably.
Are we recording?
We are still recording. Yes, this is a live show. It's a live show. Can you hear him?
Steve, are you still there?
Can you hear him on Insta?
Well, I think he might be there, but I'm not too sure. He's not saying anything. Can you hear me, Steve?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, perfect. He's there. How you doing?
On Instagram, but I don't know what happened. My computer like flickered on and off.
That's okay. Well, we can
like
just
a power thing.
I think it was a power surge, but I don't really know what happened. Okay, well, it's on Instagram, so I'll wait for my computer to connect, I suppose.
How do you want to play this?
Jason, that I lost the recording, so
I was gonna say, yeah. Jason, you're in control.
I still have the recording, so we're good. I can kind of, I don't know, did you turn something up on your end? Because I can kind of hear Steve through your
I turned it up because I turned the volume on the phone just so I could hear Steve because I can't, because he's not on this is the Zoom. I only have, you guys have like 2 or 3 headphones and all kinds of devices and stuff.
No, I have my, this is just the Zoom call, and then I have my earbuds that are just picking up my voice for the Instagram.
So you have 2 things.
Well, I have 6 things. 6 things set up. I have my 2 laptops. I have my 2 phones. I have my headset, and I have
2 laptops.
Yeah, it's where I take my notes, man.
So many things. Oh man, you guys got dope ass setups.
Well, yeah, good. All you need to do is get a better microphone. That's the only thing you need to add to this equation.
Yeah, better out than in. That's what I always say.
Ask Steve if he can get back.
Why do I have to ask him? I'm pretty sure he can hear you.
Oh, can you hear me? The fuck is that? Why is WrestleCast calling me? Decline.
Do they have food? Are they delivering?
No, they're accidentally calling.
Who are they? Is that a boss?
No, it's this wrestling group that I'm in on Facebook where we talk about the shows as we watch them. I think he butt dialed the chat. This is just falling apart. This is the most disastrous moment of this show we've ever had.
You know what? Spice is the spice of life.
Yep, spice is the spice of life, as they say. Luckily, once we get an intro, I will throw up all of these episodes with this kind of stuff edited out. Once we get an intro.
And then when the DVD copies are made, you'll be able to find all of these.
Nope.
What do you mean?
Not how that works. Not
all
even
of
close.
These outtakes and special features and
more.
No,
because these literally get deleted for space. Say something funny and you might just make it onto the TikTok, but that's about as far as we're going with that. Oh, look. Naveed Khan is back.
There. Hello.
Oh,
thank you, everyone, for your patience. We don't have one of those technical difficulty. We're working on this fix or something.
Steve, your Insta looks fine now. I think you had your internet, did your internet and your computer have a blip?
Yeah, it was my. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened. It must have been my internet that cut out, but my like screen flickered as well. So I was like, did I just like get a weird? But the computer didn't shut off. But the Zoom, yeah. Anyway,
Oh, okay.
I don't know what happened.
I think your phone, I watched as your phone had like a spin on it. I think I was watching it go over to your LTE, your 4G or whatever. Anyway, we are back with more Mononoke action.
Mononoke.
Here, I'm gonna
Mono.
All right.
Should we clap? Should we?
Well, we're not doing 3 separate streams, so I just did a clap. So when I edit this in 40 years.
I'm getting a weird feedback on my microphone. This is annoying me.
My bad. Is it me?
I don't think it's you. No, it's like a weird electronic feedback. I'm not sure what happened.
Was it the Chad? I might even watch Charlie's Angels. Who knows?
Today, the new one.
No. The first one, just for Tom Green. I was watching LOL or
delicious cheese sandwich.
Delicious cheese sandwich.
It's funny how much people love that bit on that show when that's literally a reference to Freddy Got Fingered. Would you like to taste
Freddy Got Fingered
sandwich?
is one of the best movies ever.
Yeah, it's one of the best fucking movies. You know the story behind that with the. We've talked about that on the show. We have. Anyway.
Sorry, you guys want to get back to the movie? Sorry, I think I'm good now.
Steve, take the reins.
So yeah, I was talking about how he cut his hair off, and it's really cool. And I feel like there's probably some really huge, significant reason for him to cut his hair off. But what it really achieved for me was that every time he gets kind of angry, his hair stands up like he's a cat, like a frightened cat or an angry cat, or a Super Saiyan, I guess, if you want to, pull it in that realm. No, it's just this sort of like stands up like an angered or frightened animal, and he goes on his journey. He says goodbye.
It's a realistically bad hairstyle that you would get if you just lobbed off a top knot. So yeah. I did appreciate that realism.
His hair looks dorky. Yeah,
that's what I want. I want that haircut.
So grow your hair into a top knot like a Russell Brand.
I had that haircut in high school because I was in a play and I had to cut my hair like that, like an orphan from
like the one in Jason's background right now, like that little angled back.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what my hair looked like. I was in a play.
Kind of a
how do I tell my hair? You know what? I'm just gonna keep doing what I've been doing for the last 2 years and cut my hair on my own. And it'll probably turn out like that.
Well, turn your head to the side for a sec. It's kind of doing that already. You just have curly hair.
Yeah.
So get a reverse perm, whatever. Get your hair straightened.
I think that's also a perm. I think there's 2 types of perms. I think there's a straight. Oh, just wait. What's it called? Relaxer? Relief? Get it relaxed? Can I get my hair relaxed?
Reverse perm. Okay, Steve. Anyway, you were saying?
So he goes on his journey after he cuts his hair. And what happens along the way? It's kind of like eased into the introduction of a couple more characters. I believe at this point we meet up with Lady Ibushi. Is it Ibushi?
Ibushi. I wrote it down towards the end.
Ibushi, not Ibushi.
Yeah.
And
just refer to her as Lady all through my notes.
The Iron Lady. She is much like Ashitaka, protecting her townspeople as well, along a delivery route of food and I assume other goods. And they're on a very narrow sort of like cliff edge. It looks very precarious, and it is a rainstorm. And during the transportation, there's a little bit of back and forth where, as far as I understand, this movie is based in a lot of like really, really heavy like folklore in like specific regions of Japan, which would have taken like 4 movies for them to like fully explain to you everything. So it's kind of this like back and forth that's very sort of like referential, but not really.
Or be from that region of Japan where they believe that folklore, I guess.
You basically get the fact that like these people, though they seem to be in a more modern sort of era, as Ashitaka is like watching samurai people basically like looting a town, you know, like doing sort of like a horrible destruction of a town, stealing all their goods. That these people still believe in magic and monsters and gods and demons. Like there's nobody in the movie that even questions the reality of this stuff. It just all exists and it's sort of like factual. And you know, Ashitaka, as he tries to not even really defend the village, he's just trying to pass through the village. They see him and attack him, and he's literally just defending himself. I think almost every time he kills somebody in this movie, right before he kills them, he says, "I'm warning you, don't do it. Yeah, leave me alone and I'll leave you alone."
He kills a guy by chopping both of his arms off with a single arrow at one point, and I laughed.
I love that.
Yeah.
And they stuck to a tree and they just look like, you know, he's like staring at his nubs. And then he decapitates a guy like 2 seconds after that. And their response to seeing that is like, "It's a demon."
They're so clean. Like, they like just the heads just pop off, and it's so like a PG-13. Like if these kills were in a movie like Akira or even like Ghost in the Shell, it'd be like
super gory. Well, I think that, you know, I'm not sure what the sort of rating system is in Japan. I'm sure there is one, but I don't know like what they view as sort of like R-rated versus what they don't. I'm sure it's
I think
similar, but not exactly the same. Yeah, it's probably different, but like in this movie, it seemed like they were allowed to use as much blood as they wanted within certain circumstances, and then other scenes where they could have had the spurts of blood, like when he cuts a guy's head off with an arrow, there could have been like spurts of blood everywhere, but it's just this like his head pops off and then his body falls over.
Yeah.
But when he gets shot by the woman in the village, he's just like pouring blood, and it's like pretty gnarly. Like, and he's bleeding a lot. And anytime that somebody looks as though they're suffering from a wound, that's when the blood is really sort of matting all over them, and it's super bright. And then when it's just sort of like not gratuitous violence, but violence to just show how powerful he is.
Yeah.
They don't show any super gore. It's just sort of like limbs fly off. So many limbs fly off in this movie, by the way.
I also felt that the spirit of the forest turning into the night demon moment was really like, well, it wasn't like straight up blood gore. It was sort of shades of the Akira like blob.
Yeah, the endings of both of these movies felt pretty similar.
Yeah. Right down to like her getting trapped inside of like that final boar demon and him trying to like go in after her.
Yeah.
There was a bit of a twist where the wolf went in. And remember, guys, a wolf can bite after it's dead. A wolf's head can bite after it's dead. So never forget that. That scene was
Don't forget it.
Also, don't go down on a wolf if it's having its period.
Could you please elaborate?
Is that from this movie? I don't remember that line, and I've seen this movie like 100 times.
One time, one person went down on someone and didn't know they had their period, and then went downstairs to have breakfast with her parents, and her parents had a fit, I think is what the old people say.
They probably had a horrifying moment where their face was covered in blood.
Well, their face metaphorically was covered in blood, while his face literally was covered in blood.
Okay.
I want to put that on TikTok. That's a TikTok moment right there. It's
disgusting.
TikTokable, as we call it. That's what the kids want, man. They want to hear gross shit.
Yep. Anyway, we got a little sidetracked here. They show Ashitaka saving a village. They show Lady Ibushi God damn it, Eboshi, saving her, or not really saving. She lets a couple of them fall off the cliff, and this is sort of like the Disney villain tone we were talking about earlier, where they're like, "What about the men?" And she just says, "They're dead. Let's go." Let's go. And then we get
Village of Ladies was my favorite.
Yeah, the women are going to be fine back there. We need the men with us now in the woods.
Yeah. You get a small scene of Ashitaka meeting Billy Bob Thornton for the first time, where he attempts to pay for 1 bag of rice with 4 bags of rice worth of gold or whatever. And then Billy Bob Thornton, you have him sort of explaining the value of the gold to this small village, which is like, oh, it shows 1, that this guy is smart, and 2, that the village out here, maybe not so much smart. They don't know what gold is and its value.
But can we change the word to smart and change it to what they value? Do you know what I mean? Like gold.
Well, I mean, once he explained gold to them, she thought it was really valuable and wanted it.
No. But even with the explanation of gold, that's only because of the value that other people put on it as well.
That's like,
do you know what I mean? Whereas, it doesn't, like, literally, what's gold gonna do for you as far as necessity, right? Although I think it might be a good conductor or some shit like that, but like, you know what I mean? You're not building your shelter out of it. You're not eating it. Like, I realize.
Well, I mean, like seconds later within that scene, it's explained that these people do find gold valuable because there's money changers in the town. When he's like, "Is there a money changer?"
What the rock itself was.
Yeah, so she's probably used to seeing gold as like a coin and not as like
a gold piece, and those are the dudes that were like.
She was like, "Yeah, give me back my gold" or whatever. Yeah.
Then those dudes that chased Ashitaka and Billy Bob Thornton out of town, clearly they were like, where there's gold, there's always more gold, kind of a thing.
Yeah,
this guy's throwing around gold nuggets, let's go get him. And then
but I do think that like the main sort of crux of that scene is it takes care of a couple of things. It introduces Billy Bob Thornton's character. It shows that he is sort of like wily and sort of smart, and it shows that he also is good at sort of manipulating people, because he sees that Ashitaka is like, okay, he's competent, he's strong, he's on an elk that I've never seen before, and also he has a bunch of gold and doesn't understand how valuable gold is, so I'm going to become his friend.
He's kind of like the talking animal character in a lot of Disney movies, where the street smart, sort of explain everything to people, to like their or like Dan DeVito's character in Hercules.
Right.
Like,
true. Okay.
I guess I was thinking that was a more
pug from Men in Black.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, I think that Jason is saying that they're like the character that is sort of the companion to the main character who explains things to the audience via explaining it to the main character.
Like the parrot.
I don't know if the pug in Men in Black does that. He's just kind of like, hey, I'm a pug, right?
Like, Rafiki, even though they're all animals.
All right.
Like the dragon and like Eddie Murphy and Mulan.
Like the shark from Jaws.
Yes. Not even close, but yes. Aneurysm.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't even know what this is.
We're not even 1/3 into your synopsis, and we've.
Well, I mean, we do keep kind of getting derailed by the internet cutting out, or people talking about all the different animal companions from every single Disney movie. You want to list a couple more? The seagull from Mermaid, also the crab from Mermaid. Yeah. Oh yeah, and the fish from Mermaid too. They're all animals.
The crab from Little Mermaid is
the gargoyles from Hunchback. All the talking furniture from Beauty and the Beast.
They're not animals, but they're useless like
the horse. Anyway,
what about the flowers from Alice in Wonderland?
All of Alice in Wonderland except for Alice. Yeah, they're all animals.
To her constantly because she's tripping balls.
So anyway, eventually Ashitaka finds his way to Irontown, but not before he finds two men in the forest badly injured. The two men who fell out of the caravan from Irontown. He helps them onto a horse and he takes them through the cursed forest, or the magic forest, or the home of the spirit of the forest. It's probably got a million names, but what we do know is that people from Irontown are scared to go in there. Ashitaka is not scared to go in there because his elk is not scared to go in there.
I like those little ghost guys, or like little
bobblehead man.
Their little butt, their little tiny
with
butts.
their like kind of like abstract, or like, I'm not sure if abstract's the right word, but like uneven faces or whatever.
Yeah, they just sort of look like little.
There's another line
ghosty
I drew
faced.
with Breath of the Wild. They remind me of the tree token dudes from Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, again, I think that a lot of this movie is based on actual folklore, and I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of like stuff from Zelda is also.
It's all Japanese folklore.
Yeah. So he gets these guys safely through the forest, and he doesn't he see her? Yeah, he sees the princess, and
A
she
glimpse of her for the first time.
yeah, catches a glimpse of her at the river where she's sucking the blood out of her brother, who is a wolf, and she is not a wolf. And he doesn't know who she is, but she basically ignores him and goes back into the woods. And then
before that too, though, the Princess Mononoke is mentioned not as the name San, but they do mention, and he goes like, oh, because Princess Mononoke is supposed to be able to heal him of his wound, right? Or so
the spirit of, I thought it was the spirit of the forest.
She could lead him to the spirit of the forest to heal his wound. Is sort of what I.
Yeah, there's a couple of like weird bits of like mission parameters that are given throughout, and they're given by different people.
I did get a little confused during this movie.
There's a lot of confusing parts, like when they just randomly introduce this different samurai clans and they're just all fighting each other, and it's like, what? Did I miss something here? Or are they just? Is it? Just,
no, I think so.
They being like, here's stuff, here's things, see, show don't tell.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Again, I think it's probably the thing that we're like, oh, this is based on this stuff that happened in lore and folklore and maybe even reality.
True. Okay.
But also it just kind of underlines the fact that, outside of the forest, outside of his village, in this area of the world that he's ventured into, the human beings are at war with each other, and they're also at war with the forest. And he does not want to take either side, but he also doesn't want to fight either side. He doesn't have a fight. He just wants to remove his curse. But as he gets further and further into this land, he starts to realize that like, oh, all of these people need things, and they all need different things, and they all want me to help them get what they want, and I don't know who I'm helping anymore. And by the end of the movie, I don't think anybody really knows who they're helping except for themselves, because you've got Billy Bob Thornton, who just wants the head to give to the emperor. You've got the Iron Lady, who just wants to protect her village, but then it becomes more like she just wants to hunt down the forest and kill the forest.
Well, you've got her main goal is to spread the ability to mine iron.
Well, that's her main goal, but by the end of the movie, she's not really even giving a shit about her town. She just wants to fucking shoot that spirit. Like, she forgets about all of that, and she's like, my goal is to kill the forest. Like, that's what her goal becomes, to kill the forest at the end. And it's like, everything up to that, it keeps showing you that like she cares about industry, she cares about the betterment of humanity, and she cares about helping people who need help. She brings brothel women, basically like prostitutes, buys their contracts so that she can have them come work for her, so that she doesn't have to have these people walking around with miserable lives. She takes lepers in as like people who design and craft intricate weaponry for her to help her in her journey, which is to spread industry.
Those guns are pretty cool. I felt a weird, like, muskets have never been like that. It is a similar thing. Muskets are you light kind of, not a wick, but you put it in and the gunpowder just goes off and it shoots the projectile. But the fact that this had like a lever, like it looked like a musket, it had the lever that put the little bit of fire into the gunpowder, and it did like a charge off your shoulder. That felt almost sci-fi to me. That was almost like a
musket,
a different universe musket that felt almost sci-fi, I guess.
Yeah, and it felt sort of like in tandem with like real musket design, as well as sort of like traditional like Chinese and Japanese sort of like firework, the stuff that they're using at the beginning. Like, it feels like they designed a rifle using that as a template. Like, that was like the early version. It also is worth mentioning that they're designing these specific rifles for the women of the village to be able to use.
Oh yeah, because they make a point at one point where he's like, this is too heavy.
Yeah.
And I think he even fires it from his shoulder, and she picks it
up.
Yeah,
exactly.
And then later they're all doing it like over the shoulder, which is cool.
Yeah. It's all this weird sort of world building and like just subtle things where you're like, oh, okay, so all of this works together in its own particular way, and everything is very particular.
Is there a sequel?
There is no sequel.
Studio Ghibli movies don't do sequels. They're like Disney, except for Disney do sequels all the time.
Yeah.
Not in theater sequels, like straight to streaming or straight to DVD.
I mean, I almost sort of plowed through the rest of what happens because, you know, he basically the rest of the movie up to this point, after my explanation, is like he gets to know all the villagers of Irontown. He is introduced to the idea of Princess Mononoke. They have a fight. Princess Mononoke comes in and fights Lady Eboshi, and Ashitaka basically knocks them both out, gives the Lady Eboshi back, goes with Princess Mononoke, and he gets shot in the process. And she takes him where he's healed of his bullet wound, but not the curse, which is sort of interesting because you're like, this either means one, the spirit of the forest cannot cure this curse, or the spirit of the forest is choosing not to cure the curse, and you don't really know which one it is.
Things about this movie though, where the first hour and 15 or 20 minutes, it's all world building, like just showing you where you're at, and then in that last hour, you get like full on, really well animated fighting and several long shots of fighting, like the fight in the village with, you know, Ashitaka coming back and Princess Mononoke like fucking everybody up, and then there's a fight where they're outside of town where the antelope guy gets fucked up and he's like, you gotta stay behind, but right before that he's like fighting samurai again. And there's a lot of those really cool long prolonged fight scenes in the final act basically.
Yes. And as I said before, in the final act of this movie is, you know, things are kind of hitting the fan in every direction, and everybody is basically offering Ashitaka to help. He's like, you know, you have to help us, but you know he's not going to. And it's, you know, Agent Dana Scully herself who gives him the word of advice, which is like, you know, the humans are foolish, but so are all of the beasts of the forest. And, you know, like, you need to do what you think you need to do. And like, what do you want to do, kind of thing. She gives him the choice. I'm sure there's more to it than that within that scene, but, you know, while this is happening, you've got, is his name Juro? The Billy Bob Thornton's character, who he kind of like presents himself as a right-hand man to Lady Eboshi, but at the end of the day, he really doesn't give a shit about Irontown or the forest.
Right-hand man's name is Gonza.
Oh no, yeah, I'm talking about Billy Bob
Joe
Thornton's
DiMaggio,
character,
who is also Waka from Final Fantasy X, and most notably Bender.
He's also like 14 characters in this movie. Like every time they need a tough guy to come up and be like, "Hey, you!"
What are you doing over here?
Yeah,
he's that voice.
Yeah, there's a lot of Disney and Fox alumni.
I think I said Joe DiMaggio, which is not that person. John DiMaggio.
There's a few Bart Simpsons in this movie as well.
The reason why
Bart Simpsons. What do you mean a few Bart Simpsons?
The lady who plays the lady who plays Bart Simpson does a few voices in this movie as well.
Gotcha.
Nancy Cartwright.
Mm-hmm.
John DiMaggio. I just want to get the thought out, or I'll get brain blue balls. But he's the reason why we might not get that next season of Futurama, or they might replace him because he doesn't want to come back. He's like, I want my money, man. Anyway,
maybe they can offer him something else. Maybe they can convince him of the message of this movie.
Oh, which is, don't fuck with the forest or the forest will fuck you.
Personally, I think we need to be more in touch with. So I'll say, like, I guess 3 words: body, mind, and spirit. Right? Like, they all need to be exercised, right? And I think it's foolish of us to kind of ignore our natural side or whatever. So like you were saying earlier, Steve, like how they're becoming more and more separated from like nature or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Another video game that this really reminded me of too, in a lot of ways, is the game Valheim. The fortress looked a lot like the Valheim fortress, and the way they were digging into the side of the hill kind of looked like that to me. And you have to go through an iron phase in that as well. And I kept thinking about that while they were showing the Iron Forge.
Ooh, iron, yeah.
Yes.
So to bring that
I
back
mean,
to what Kalen was saying, that there's a lot of hurt
yeah,
from
well,
home.
no, I mean
narrative
what
in there.
Kalen was saying is accurate, and like in this movie, they're literally afraid of the forest. You know, it's not even that they're just detached from it. Like all of those guys that were going, and Ibushi herself, they avoided going through the forest because they knew that if they went through the forest, they would be killed. And all of what they've achieved in Iron Town and beyond it, it's like, you know, that first shot when you see Ashitaka come over the hill and he's like looking at what's going on, it's like, you know, the grungiest, dirtiest looking stuff you've ever seen, in contrast to what you've just seen up until that point. It's just so dusty, dirty, smoky, and it doesn't look welcoming. There's like every tree is spiked out of the side so that nothing can ever come up near it. And you get the idea that, you know, this thing is he says it's a fortress. It's like, why do they need a fortress? And it's because they were being attacked by boars constantly. Like the boar gods were trying to kill them.
And then also the monkeys.
They keep coming to try to replant the trees because that whole hillside, like that's what I'm saying, that imagery of the hillside being completely barren because it's been used up of all its resources. That's what I'm saying. The game Valheim very much has that.
That's a good point. Yeah.
And it's a really cool, because at the end, when the spirit monster comes and it's just like turning everything brown, it finishes the job in an ironic way. It's like, oh, fine, you want, but then you have to contend with this horrible like tidal wave of black.
You want death? I'll give you death.
Which I think was more to the allegory that I was saying of the pollution thing, because it literally spews this like what looks like oil. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, it's definitely like a Fern Gully-ish sort of story where, you know, like on the nose, it's very much like, yeah, nature versus industry, like, you know, smog and smoke versus natural growth and green life.
And rhymes all the time.
That, you know, that spirit has the power to be either or. And Lady Eboshi not being she's the only person that's like, you can't fear this stuff. I'm not afraid. And when she fucking kills that thing, the shot of the bullet going through the spirit monster's face and its eyes going like outward is so unsettling. The face of the nighttime or the daytime spirit walker is so unsettling to me. It looks like a kabuki mask almost.
It's always changing too. Like every shot of it, it's like it's slowly changing and morphing, and it's almost like
a Rorschach painting almost.
It is sort of, but like I almost want to say, like, because when it looks at a human, it almost starts to morph into look more human-like, and then when it's in its more naturalistic state, it kind of grows a snout and has more of a deer nose, and it's almost like this weird sort of twisted mirror, or like a creature that's like it's trying to figure out what it's looking at while you're looking at it, where it, you know, it's looking at you, but it's like, what am I looking at? And it starts to sort of try and shift into what it's looking at as well. Yeah, no, it is super unsettling, and like every single shot of that thing is, it's so beautiful, but at the same time you're like, ugh, what is this thing?
It looked kind of oily, actually, now that I think about it. Like, or water mixed with oil, or like trying to mix water with oil. Ooh.
Well, that's pretty good.
Nature versus, well, I guess oil's natural too.
You get a shot of like the silhouettes of a bunch of deer and the shadow, the forest spirit near the beginning of the movie. And I think it's right before he sees Princess Mononoke for the first time. And I feel like you see that for the first time and you're just like, oh, it's like this old deer. It's like this old grizzled deer that just has crazy antlers, but they're in like a weird different, because you haven't really seen anything out of the ordinary at that point in this movie, besides you're watching like a fantasy, but nothing real crazy. And the first time you actually see the monster, you see it with its weird red face. It looks like one of those monkeys with the red faces, right? And I think, Steve, you're onto something, saying that it tries to morph its face to sort of what it's looking at. Also, it's a very much corporeal being that is a god, but can be killed.
Corporeal,
yeah, like tangible, like you can touch it and it's in the world. Like ghosts.
It's not made of mist.
Yeah, ghosts are non-corporeal.
Okay.
And they don't really portray gods like that very often. can't just go up and fucking kill a god. In like Valhalla, or in like, you know what I mean? Like the gods can kill each other. They can fight each other because they're on the same power level. But a human can't like just fist fight Thor and beat him ever, unless he's depowered in some way. And I thought it was really interesting in this how she fires a bullet through its head, and it kind of like, it's like for like a second, it's almost looks like it's unfazed, but then she's like, it's going to take more than that. And then she just I think it's completely by happenstance and completely by accident that she just happens to shoot it while it's morphing from its daytime form to its nighttime form. But they don't address that, and they don't know that. And I think that's a really interesting thing that it's a show don't tell that this movie does really well, and it does a lot of that.
Show don't
as
tell.
We talked about, where you just, if something happens, it's like, oh, okay, I guess that can happen. And that moment was very much like, oh, she did that by accident, by not, like, she was almost right to not be afraid, and that was sort of its weakness, because all of the other humans are horrified by everything in the woods, and they don't even. So if something is scaring you, it has the, you know, has +10 to its like attack, because it's also putting like fear on
+10.
you.
I mean, I would also say that like it is definitely an accident that she shot it in the neck at the perfect moment to blow its head off. But, you know, the person telling that story, the guy who survived, who goes back to the village, and he says, you know, Lady Eboshi, she turned to us and she said, "You can't be afraid of gods," and then ran off. And then she shot its head off. And like he would skip all of the other stuff, right? But us as the audience, we see her misfire the gun and then try to shoot again, and then all the greenery and shrubbery growing off of it, and she's just trying to shoot the gun over and over again, and she can't. And then finally she just forces it and shoots. And it's like, if she had shot it even, you know, that 15 seconds earlier when she was trying to, it probably wouldn't have killed it. But because it went off at the exact moment that it did, she was able to hit it right in that sweet spot that caused that dope explosion.
What does that say though about the greenery leading to that? Like, you know what I mean?
Like, did the thing kill itself by accident by gnarling and mangling the gun in such a way that the bullet fired at the perfect moment? Because I forgot what happened there. I forgot about that whole last bit, and I thought the gun just like blows up in her face and that's her end. I forgot about all of that part, and that's what would happen in like pretty much any other movie. I would say that's and then something else happens that still makes the monster pop off and become a demon. But what happens really is she does that thing, chaos starts happening, and with the wolf's dying breath, its head just comes and takes her arm. And even Ashitaka is like, you know, Princess Mononoke's freaking out. She's like, I hate all humans. I'm a wolf. Everybody get out of here. I hate you. I hate you. And he's like, look, your tribe, we took her arm and she's got to go to intensive care. That, you know, you're paid back. Let me hug you. Let me just embrace you and show you humanity. And I thought that whole sequence was fucking awesome. That's basically where I was going with that.
Yeah. Also, Lady Eboshi looks so cool at the end. Her like armor and stuff, and her like half cape. She's so cool.
Half cape.
Also, when the fight between her and Princess Mononoke is like really great as well. How it's like she's all precision and timing, and Princess Mononoke is just like wild swipes and like crouching like a little monster.
From Final Fantasy VI. She's
that whole sequence is great, where she, you know, one of the wolves essentially like launches himself into the ramparts so that she can fly up, and she doesn't even get all the way up. She has to stick a spear in and then like jump off of that.
The wolf also flies in a weird way where it doesn't hit the spikes. It hits like right underneath the spikes, and then she's able to use that to propel off.
Yeah, the momentum of speed. Yeah, it's great.
Like that,
catapult.
We watched animation of all of this stuff too. Like this was all animated. Like you couldn't even do this. You couldn't do this now with CGI for a live action. I don't think we'll ever.
Does the next week thing count if it's CGI animation?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's still animation. I agree with what you're saying, Jason. I don't think they could ever accomplish all of the action sequences in this movie in live action to any degree of satisfaction that you would get out of watching it in the 2D animation. It's just like, just wouldn't be the same. There are certain animes that I think it works for because it's not as meticulous and it's not as choreographed and thought out and storyboarded and like painstakingly like set up.
Kung Fu heavy into it. Like I think you could make a good Dragon Ball live.
I have the best idea for a Dragon Ball movie.
I think you could make a good like live action Bleach, which I think they did make a Bleach live action, but I think it's one of those Death Note situations. They should have been able to make a good Death Note live action.
I would say that more movies should be turned into Ghibli animations.
Yeah. Do a Ghostbusters Ghibli animation. Reverse it into anime.
A few years ago, I think it was somebody's animation like final project they did in school, and they just made like a very short, I think it was like a minute-long trailer for an Ocarina of Time movie, all done in the style of this movie. Nice. So you see like the bomb store guy like sitting, and it's just all, you know, they do like little snippets of all of Hyrule within the storyline of Ocarina of Time, and it's like so appropriate. And I was just like, man, I really want this to be a real thing.
Yeah, the Twilight Princess Zelda looks like it was sort of based off of paintings too. Like the animation style is like if you were actually, you know what, the last 3 Zelda games are almost animations, the painting animation. The one where you're flying around, the Skyward Sword, was also based off of like if a painting was a video game. And those 3 as a trilogy sort of encompass a lot of elements that you see in Princess Mononoke and probably were heavily influenced by it.
Yeah, it's another thing with the music as well.
Yeah.
Like especially around this time period, 1997, when I was just listening to the soundtrack today actually while I was working.
Nice.
And I played a lot of Star Fox 64 when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And right around the same time, I believe it came out in 1997 as well. And there's just a particular sort of style of instrumental like swells and crescendos at this point. It's like very, I think I was saying it before, it's like a lot of these like soft horns, like French horns and trombones and stuff, where there's not really like harsh note changes. There's sort of the swells. Mm-hmm. And I think that's one of the reasons that the action sequences in this movie, they don't even really feel aggressive. They like, I can still be sitting there eating my chicken noodle soup while I'm sick and not be like, whoa, I'm just like, oh yes, all of this is so relaxing.
I'm telling you, man, this movie in my mind is silence. It's crazy how
violent?
SIL, it's completely silent inside of my mind.
Oh, silent.
Like I don't really hear it. It's just like it sounds like water running down a creek.
Right.
And
yeah, I mean, like
air and just silence.
I've listened to the soundtrack quite a lot in my life, and it's not one that gets into my brain and sticks in there. You know, it's not an earworm. Like I couldn't even, I don't think, hum you the main theme song from the beginning of the movie right now if I tried. I might be able to get a couple of notes in the right order.
Mononoke coming to you on the back of a wolf. Here comes the forest demon, gonna put a bunch of jizz on you.
Oh no. Billy Bob Thornton, baby. That's another thing I wanted to present to you as a question. This is not something I've looked up, and I'm interested to know if this is in any way valid. But
the question is, of course, is his name William Thornton?
Yes, William Thornton, our favorite country buck.
Thornton. Sorry, fuck, I fucked up my own joke.
BBT.
So, I wonder if the character in this movie that he plays is meant to sort of portray a particular region of Japan of that era. So, like, you know, if we wanted to have a movie where, you know, somebody is making a pilgrimage across like the Oregon Trail or something, and they run into like a hillbilly, or they run into a cowboy type person. Is it the equvalent where like this guy?
Squid Game kind of does that,
right?
You know what I mean? Because they have different people from different regions who have are portrayed differently. And in Japanese, when you go and listen to, so a good example of this is in Final Fantasy 15. There's a character called Cindy, who's the son of Sid, and they both talk like this. She talks like this, but he's like, "Hey guys, what's going on?" And if you go and listen to the Japanese dub, he sounds different than like the main character Noct, who's like a prince. You know?
Slang,
So it's like
different
it's a
slang,
regional thing then.
Yeah.
I think that was an intentional move by the
Yeah, because it's almost jarring, right? Where like everybody else sort of speaks the same. And then even the women who are of the like the Bella women, you know,
They
who are
were
all supposed to, they're all supposed to be
They
you
were
know,
all, like, babes,
prostitutes before they
Yeah.
came to Irontown.
I don't know.
They
how
have a
that dude
particular
ended
way
up
of
with that
speaking
main,
as well.
That main girl, because she was out of his league.
Well, the rest of the men in that town aren't much better than that guy either. Maybe he was a really, maybe he's a sweetheart.
They portray all of the working men in this universe as just being fucking looked at. They were hit with a boot in the face.
Yeah.
Oh, fun fact about Ashitaka that we haven't talked about: the voice actor for that is Dr. Manhattan.
Yes, Billy
from
Crudup.
Billy
That
Crudup.
guy.
He's
also in
other
Big
stuff.
Fish.
He was in
Another good movie.
Alien Covenant, or was it Prometheus or Alien Covenant?
Alien Covenant.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was looking at his IMDb earlier. I was like, where the fuck do I know this name from? And it said Watchmen, and I was like, he's not Ozymandias, is he? No, of course he's not. He's Dr. Manhattan. And I remember at that time, this guy was getting a lot of work during when like Watchmen came out in the late 2000s.
That's how it happens.
Yeah.
When you're hot, it's just like.
But he must have been a big enough star on the level of Billy Bob Thornton and Claire Danes. Claire Danes, of course, is Princess Mononoke.
I kind of wish it was Nicolas Cage.
Well, I think like a lot of the cast in this movie.
Doing in '97, Snake Eyes, Con Air.
What was the other one? Face Off? Yeah. Sorry.
It's fine. The cast of this movie, yeah, I think Billy Bob Thornton was probably the heaviest hitter of the movie. But you know, I mean, for the English dub, obviously, but well, Keith David is obviously the best, but he's not. Keith David has never really been a household name.
Voice like molasses.
I think Claire Danes might have been the biggest star though, because Romeo and Juliet had just come out. Yeah,
so the dubs for Ghibli movies, they never really go for like A-list celebrities. Like they're not going to pull in like
A-, maybe B+.
Yeah, they sort of do they do the Disney thing where they're like, you know, we'll get a couple people but then you know the other people will be people that you recognize, but you don't really know. It's so like Gillian Anderson, for example, like X-Files was very big in 1997. You get her to be the wolf. Jada Pickett Smith is in it as like a very minimal role.
Was Lady Eboshi. That's Minnie Driver of the classic Groundhog Day.
Why do I know that name?
Minnie Driver. Wait, she's not Groundhog Day. That's
Is she that girl from Drew Carey show?
No.
You thinking of Mimi?
Minnie Driver.
Is she the mom from Step Brothers? Not the mom. No. Just wait 1 second. Not the mom.
No, that's Minnie Driver. Minnie Driver. No, Minnie Driver is not from Groundhog Day. I think I got confused. I think Minnie Driver is she's
a mom of some sort. Is she a mom?
I mean, she
probably plays a mom in something, but she's been in a lot of TV. She's been in a bunch of movies. She's been around. She's she's an actor.
She's an actor.
She's a freaking actor, man. Yeah, I had something else to say about the cast stuff, but I can't remember what it was. So, whatever.
Jada Pinkett Smith was in it. What else would you say?
Yeah, I was just trying to underline the fact that like nobody in this movie, even in this era of time, was like considered to be a person that you would bank an entire movie upon.
Mm-hmm.
They're just there to power up this thing that Disney was hoping to bring over, and like, you know, they're like, this is basically what we do there. We can maybe capitalize on this and bring this stuff over. And
Thornton at this time was just doing indie movies. Like he hadn't even.
Tim Burton.
Billy Bob Thornton.
Chicken necks.
Yes. basically.
Put It In was, of course, like I said, Romeo and Juliet, Billy Crudup, or whatever his name, Tom.
Zoe Kravitz.
No, that's from she's like not even born yet.
But yeah, anyway, if you go through other Ghibli movies and the casts that they have for their American dubs or the North American dubs, usually they have actors who are like, they're good actors, but they're not, the biggest actors at the time. So Ponyo, for example, Liam Neeson plays sort of like the villain character in Ponyo.
Yeah,
and when that movie came out, like,
shit.
yes, Liam Neeson is a good actor. You're doing is strengthening the point that I'm trying to make, is that he's a good actor, but you're not going to bank an entire animated movie on Liam Neeson being in it. So they
kind of did that with Star Wars 3 years later.
That wasn't an animated movie. That was a movie.
I mean,
there's a lot of animation in it.
In that movie. It's like mostly shot on green screen technology. I don't think Jar Jar Binks was real.
Episode 1, no, it wasn't shot on green screen technology. Actually, most of that movie was sets and locations.
Yeah, but like,
the water was sand.
Don't get me started on Star Wars. I can talk about Star Wars literally forever.
Sure the Duel of Fates
Yo,
was in a,
Steve,
was
when
in
do you want to make a month or whatever? Just wait, how many episodes? 6?
Let's not. I do not want to listen
9.
to Steve talk about Star Wars for fucking 2 months straight.
I kind of want to listen to talk about Star Wars and then interject.
Oh, you're saying, I like how you started with interrupt, because it would be it would be interjecting, but it would be interrupting, because Steve gets going about Star Wars, I'll tell you.
And
yeah, I do.
Speaking of interrupting, my apologies, Steve.
Like next week, when we do Final Fantasy, The Spirits Within, you're going to see some shit, pal.
Are you guys going to duke it out?
I almost immediately regret saying okay to that. I forgot that you just will talk about Final Fantasy the entire time.
I've been talking about it this episode.
Okay, well, anyway, you can go through any Ghibli movie and look at the English dub, and it'll always have people every single time. It's never going to be a cast of people that you have no idea who they are. You'll see Patrick Stewart somewhere. You'll see, like, look at any Ghibli movie right now, go to the English dub and look at the cast, and you'll know at least 1 to 4 people in each movie. But this one has the most people that I know and love.
I heard a lot of names, or heard a lot of voices for sure.
Also,
I did mention
was just literally did Romeo and Juliet the previous year. I didn't realize I hit that so on the head.
Which means she probably had already recorded all the dialogue for it before that movie came out.
Could be.
Ooh.
So that makes you more right.
Hollywood's so weird.
Stars.
Yeah.
Billy Bob
was
a fucking up and coming star in the late 90s and would be propelled into becoming a household name within 5 years, which is crazy because he was already probably in his 40s.
Sling Blade was dope.
Really? Was it? I think I might have to disagree with you.
His performance was dope.
Oh. I will.
Doesn't he just play bad Santa, but he's not Santa?
You just kind of.
I can't do it.
It's like grumbling, and he has a sling blade.
Yeah, exactly.
Now say "fuck me, Santa." Now say "fuck me, Santa." That's my Bob. That's my Billy Bob Thornton.
I wasn't able to walk right for a week.
I hated bad Santa too. Let's take this home.
I think Steve still had something to say.
I mean, I've had lots of things to say, but my train of thought has been obliterated at this point, so I don't really know what else to say other than Billy Bob Thornton's performance was weird in this movie, and I think I already said it sounded like they cut it up a little bit, like they just kind of snipped out pauses and stapled them together to get all of the dialogue into the mouth.
It almost felt like they kept telling him to stop doing a British accent. Stop doing your southern accent, Billy Bob Thornton, please. Yeah. Please
stop eating those. Stop eating those ribs. Put those ribs down and read your lines.
I need this fried chicken.
When I say Nicolas Cage, though,
do this role.
You guys not hear that a little bit?
What?
Nicolas Cage, does it like when I said NicolasAge, does that make you go, "Oh, I can kind of hear that"?
For me,
no, because I already knew that it was him, and I've known it's for him for like 20 years of my life.
As soon as I heard him talk, I was like, "Who is that? Is that no way? Is that Billy Bob Thornton?" And then I immediately looked it up, and then I never thought about Nicolas Cage once.
To it again.
yeah, I don't know. His whole thing, I think, was just he's supposed to be a folksy commoner and easy to get to know, and then it's revealed that he's kind of a jerk ass by the end of the movie.
Like, I have to find the national treasure.
I'm gonna take my face.
That sounded like Nicolas Cage.
Face. Oh.
Yeah. All right, so let's, I guess, kind of go into our. Do we have any other like bits of business we want to talk
I
about?
covered all my video games. I'm good.
I don't think I heard the movie title shout out.
I wasn't listening, but he definitely says Princess Mononoke at some point.
I think that Lady Ibushi says it. She says we have to kill Princess Mononoke because she's trying to kill me or something, and then
Nice.
And then every time you see Princess Mononoke and her earrings turn slightly, there's a sound effect that goes like ring. Every time I'm like, yes. Her earring jingle is the best.
Good theme. The what was it Billy Bob who had the platform sandals?
Yeah.
That made
and
me
was
laugh.
surprisingly agile in them. That was also a thing where you're like, he's so fast and he's so agile. You know that if he fights at some point, he's probably going to be competent enough.
Do a little, yeah, exactly, yeah.
Well,
and he was.
Ashitaka was like, "Fuck you, I'll kill you," and he's like, "Will you?" And then they have a competent fight with each other.
Yeah. And then he tries to stop the rolling head inside of a giant iron container with his body, and it just takes him for a ride. But yeah, I guess like the finale, the final the finale of this movie is they shoot the head off of the spirit of the forest. Lady Eboshi gets her arm bitten off by the severed head of the spirit, one of the spirits of the forest. And then they have a chase with the night demon thing to give its head back, which is paired with a sort of a fight with Billy Bob Thornton and his hunters. But eventually they have to do the right thing, which is give the creature its head back. And the forest is restored. Iron Town is decimated. And even the large swatches of earth that have been turned to nothing but dirt begin to bloom flowers and sprouts. And the one guy goes, "I didn't know the forest spirit was what made the flowers grow." And then everybody looks at him and goes, "What are you, stupid?"
What do you think this is?
Of course they do.
About?
Yeah. And then the movie ends, and it's a beautiful ending.
Yeah.
So it's like a surprisingly kind of calming ending, but also Lady Eboshi is like, "We'll start again. We'll build a better town." And I'm like, kill her. Somebody kill her. She's evil.
I can see it because now she'll do it more ethically, I think. And I as the forge was burning towards the end of the movie, I was like, you have technology doesn't go away like that. They just rebuild. You can just rebuild the forge. It's going to take some time. And there was another moment where like the wife is like, "Come on, we got to get out of here." And he's like, "But the forge is burning." And it's like, do you want your life? Or do you want like a little bit of gold? That's trickle down economics anyway. So let's save our lives. And I think everybody kind of doesn't see, literally doesn't see the forest for the trees. They just want to decimate the land and make money. And that's what we're living in our nightmare capitalistic hellscape that we live in today.
Boo!
I'm just picturing them building a new Iron Town, and they go into the room with all the lepers, and one of them's like, "Here, Lady Ibushi, try this. I made something. It's a meat supplement. It's called Beyond Meat."
Yeah.
And she eats it, and she's like, "This is delicious." But then, like, you look over, and one of the lepers is like freshly lost a whole arm, and they're like, "Oh gosh, they're just eating leper flesh."
Yeah, and there's very limited lepers.
Well,
Also,
I mean, it's fine if you cook it.
You can always make new lepers.
I don't think any of those lepers survived. There were no lepers in that like group of people in the water.
Right. Also, all their flesh would fall off if they went into the water.
They probably got them.
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole Iron Town is on fire, and some guy's like, "The leprosy probably got them." You can still hear them burning to death in the flames. "Ah! My bandages are on fire!" Yeah, it's probably the leprosy.
The leprosy got them finally. That's a shame. Anyway, let's save our own lives.
Yeah. Everybody on this raft. No lepers allowed. They like kick a leper off. Yeah. Well, I guess we can go into final thoughts. I feel like I'm missing a segment. Did I skip something?
Well, no, I don't think so.
I
Like,
did like the whole like sometimes
I
we don't have
kind
a
of
lot
like
to say
synopsis with interjections.
Yeah,
I kind of like it.
Sometimes when we don't have a lot to say about an episode, I feel like the long synopsis with interjections is better. It's when we have a lot to say about a particular movie where we get kind of lost in the sauce when we try to do a synopsis. So I think those.
Well, yeah, this movie also has like a lot of stuff that happens. Like it doesn't feel like there is, but it totally is. I guess like I know you were talking about the video game stuff earlier. One point that I did want to make is that it felt like a weird video game, like a Fallout 76 or something, where like you go into a town and then you go to the settlement over, and then you get another quest from another town and another quest from the other town, and then you realize that all
on your quest list, and you're like, I don't even know what I was trying.
No. What I'm saying is like you then realize that all of those quests are the exact same quest from different people, but the outcome will be different depending on the choice that you make.
Yeah.
And like that's kind of how this whole movie feels. It's like you're watching somebody else play a video game, and they're like, I don't know who to help. Which one can I save and try helping these guys, and then load if I don't like the outcome?
I hope that they make in the future movies that have multiple versions like that. Like I hope a new genre emerges where they did try it at one point in theaters where you could like vote, like a choose your own adventure kind of thing. I think there are a couple of those, but I would like to see a more video gamey movie going experience like that where or Bandersnatch was kind of like that.
Make different
more
yeah, it's just sort of a visualized choose your own adventure book.
Yeah.
I mean, they've tried doing it. It's kind of it's like a fun idea, but every time I witness it implemented, I never kind of like it. I'm always kind of like, okay, whatever.
If you were going to do a movie version of it, it basically has to be put on a console, and they can only do it on certain platforms like Netflix that have the infrastructure to make it. And basically, that was a whole season of Black Mirror.
Has anyone ever done a sequel to a movie where it's all someone else's perspective, but like the same event or whatever?
That happens a lot in video games. I don't know if there's a lot of movies that do that. I guess kind of Rogue One is sort of that.
Yeah.
I think I misunderstood the question. What is
like let's say you see a movie, right? And it's one central character or whatever, and they're kind of branching off characters, and they have their hero's journey or whatever that they do. And there's escapades throughout that journey. Has there ever been a sequel where it's not a continuation, but it's the same story but from someone else's? You're now viewing it from a different person's perspective.
I think Rogue One is probably the only one I can think of that's even
no. Rogue One is not. I don't know
like,
what you think Rogue One Rogue One takes place, but it takes place before A New Hope.
It happens so close to before A New Hope that.
No, but it's not.
Yeah, but that's like saying
it's like a prequel.
No, what would it be is would be called Rogue 2. It would be the same movie happening at the exact same time, but it would be all Krennic, like the whole movie, and he'd be like,
Here we go. The Animatrix. I guess technically, those movies happen at the same time as the Matrix in certain.
I was gonna say Back to the Future 1 and 2 because remember at the end of Back to the Future, he goes back to the first Back to the Future movie, and he's like literally in the background doing stuff.
Yeah. The back.
A little. That's kind of
Animatrix series is kind of that too.
I mean, every cartoon show has done an episode where they then this is what happened during Homer's day, and then this is what happened during Marge's day, and then this is what happened during Lisa's day.
Television. Television does it pretty.
Arrested Development did it for the last season, didn't they, or something like that?
No, I think the second to last season was everybody's. Was it the?
Yeah, but there's never been a movie, has there, where the sequel?
No.
You have to have a franchise.
The answer is no. Yeah.
You have to have a franchise big enough.
Or I guess Avengers and what was it? Endgame, where they go back in time like that.
Right.
Kind of. But you have to have and that's a franchise that's big enough to be able to do that. And we've seen bits of that in Hawkeye had a moment where you see somebody else's point of view during the raid on Manhattan from the first Avengers. That's what I'm saying. You have to have a franchise big enough that people care enough to have some story that happens concurrently with a story that already exists. I think Star Wars.
If it's a dope story, who cares?
I think they could do A New Hope a sister movie to A New Hope that
From
is like
Darth Vader's perspective?
No, because that's like a reverse. That's like a reverse thing. Like that's kind of like the Maleficent movies and the, you know what I mean, and the Cruella de Vil movie where they do it from the villain's point of view.
There's a video game called Shadows of the Empire that takes place during Empire Strikes Back, and you play as Dash Rendar.
Dash Rendar.
A mercenary for hire.
They need to remake that game because it ruled. That's why I love IG-88. You fight him in a junkyard, and it's
right.
Edgy.
It's like the second level.
Yeah.
Edgy 88.
IG.
He's a
like
bounty
numbers.
hunter, and he's a robot, and he looks really
Instagram
weird.
88.
Yep. Okay, let's take it to the final thoughts, man, because I think that it's time. So, once again, the movie we watched today is Princess Mononoke.
I don't have a physical copy to hold up.
I do somewhere, but I am not going to go look for it.
Oh, come on. How hard would it be?
It would be hard. That's why I'm not going to do it.
Like,
hard enough that I'm not going to do it.
Jason, we can't see it. I'm not sure if you can tell that we can't see it, but we can't see it.
And
Nothing.
I went first for saying when I saw it, so I guess I'll do my final thoughts first. I think this movie is excellent. I have seen it so many times now that it's like I don't find myself being as overwhelmed with emotion as I was when I would watch it when I was sick. But it still does affect me pretty heavily emotionally. It kind of like brings me back to a more, innocent and normal time in life when I was a kid and was discovering something new and interesting and something that I could invest in. And the story on the surface is pretty simple in terms of what's happening narratively. It can be a little bit overwhelming, and it takes a couple of kind of passes through it to kind of fully digest everything that's happening. And like the theme of nature versus pollution, it is there, and it's part of it for sure, but it definitely runs much deeper than that. And I think every time you watch it, you can kind of find a little bit more perspective from almost everything, even like those little ghost skeletons. You kind of get what they're up to by the end of the movie. The tree spirits, the little rattly stone ghosts,
the rain stick head.
Yeah, the little noisemaker man.
Funny butt.
They got tiny little butts.
Rain stick somewhere. I'll get it. No, I don't know where it is.
It doesn't have like the craziest iconography either. Like you could show pictures of this movie to people and they would probably have no idea what it is. But that being said, I think that it has some of the most beautiful imagery and interesting sort of like costume design. And, there's super simple design for a lot of stuff, but like a lot of thought went into it. Like you were saying, Jason, earlier with the rifle, like I'm not sure if that's a rifle designed anywhere in reality, but it's very cool and interesting. It was something that like caught my attention within a scene when I was a kid where they're just having back and forth dialogue that would otherwise be kind of boring to a kid. She's examining like a crazy rifle the whole time. So you're also like, ooh, cool, a gun. There's a gun in this fantasy movie with swords and bows. But yeah, I think that if anything, give it a shot just to find yourself watching a Disney movie from a different region and a different time on planet Earth. This is very much sort of like a Disney movie from a different culture is kind of how I feel when I watch it. And it gives me the same feelings I had for early 90s Disney when I was, 11, 12 years old when I first watched it. I will give it 3 rattly skeleton ghosts out of endless amount, which is a good number because you don't want to have too many of them because they'll get all up in your house and you'll never get any rest because they'll be rattling all day.
And you'll keep picking them up years later.
Yeah, and they spook me a little bit. I don't want to have more than 3 of those things in my house.
Oh, your face is on sideways.
Yeah. I think I went to Jason after that.
Yeah. Guys, here's the thing about Princess Mononoke. It's a beautiful allegory for man versus nature and the impact on industrial expansion on nature. It reminded me a lot of the fracking crisis, when they go in and they just frack in the side of the rocks underwater for oil and natural gases and just leave the pollution everywhere. And that's really boring to talk about. What I do love about this movie is that it immediately gets you with those things that mattered in 1997. They still matter now, right? Like, people were just starting to talk about global warming in the mid 90s. And the point I'm making is that while you have this, people didn't think about that movie as that at the time. It's become so prevalent in society now that you notice it more now. Back then, you just noticed this nice fantasy movie about these characters in this fantasy world that's super fantastic. But I couldn't stop thinking about my own mortality while watching this person heartlessly ravage the earth for just iron. This is only the Iron Age. It's like the 1300s. That said, the fantasy part of this movie is fucking fantastic. It's so good. I loved it a lot, but I do find elements of this movie like not up to snuff and not up to par. Like, it would be really cool if people were able to like cast, like, if you have these big grandiose monsters, you have these actual monsters that can speak to you telepathically, super beasts, you know, demons. How come nobody's casting magic? You know, like, I want maybe if they had a little bit more magic, it'd be a little bit more interesting. Right. I don't know.
I mean, I think that's supposed to also represent that, like, humanity has completely lost its touch to nature and doesn't have magic anymore. But even the wolves and the boars, like, they don't have magic either. They're just able to talk to you telepathically, and then they're just big monsters.
But then, like, the spirit of the forest, literally, it's just all a magic entity, but it's also corporeal. So I think Steve, what you said earlier about how there's a lot of lore that we didn't get in our upbringing that's mixed in with this, but it's just tangible enough that it does work for a Western audience. I think that's kind of the heart and soul of this movie. I do love it, but I do also find myself going like, get to the next thing in that first act and a half. I just want to see the fight. I want to see the beautiful animation fight scenes, and I want to see the beautiful like rolling hills and landscapes, and I want to see like the art. I don't want the
I feel it's weird. I feel the complete opposite, where like as soon as everything starts to get to like the overwhelming end sort of battle, that's where I kind of like fall off a little bit. Like, I'm so with it up until I don't know. I guess it's just like tonally, yeah.
Akira is more, I want to dig deeper. I want more story in an Akira world, but I think that's just because I like cyberpunk more than high fantasy. But this movie specifically speaks to me more in a high, like, this kind of high fantasy I like, because this movie also reminds me of like the first 5 Final Fantasy games. You know what I mean? It's got that, like, there's these notes that just kind of look like medieval fantasy or like feudal Japan fantasy, but they elevated a bit with some weirdness. So it speaks to me a bit more than like something like a Lord of the Rings, which I just fucking can't do Lord of the Rings. I like Japanese. Yeah, I don't. You heard it here first, folks. I'm not high on that kind of fantasy. Western
don't
fantasy.
Like it at all?
Not really. I like Japanese. The Japanese high fantasy I much prefer. I think it's much more interesting visually a lot of the time. I was raised on Final Fantasy, which is usually an amalgam of like sci-fi and the end of magic in industry kind of coming into it, you know, like, I'll get into it next week. Anyway, my point is, I like this movie a lot. I love this movie, in fact, but I can only give it a 3.8 out of 5. Just because it doesn't hit all of the criteria that I need from something like this. But I do appreciate, like, I wouldn't, if Disney made the same movie, it would miss all of the points it was trying to make. If it was the same movie done by Disney, I would probably give that movie a 2.5 if it was the same thing. Just Disney.
You don't want to see like a 3-minute musical number where all the rattly ghosts sing about how they're going to get them through the woods?
Dude,
I
kind
mean,
of just do
I'd
wanna
be
say
down
that
for
in
a rattle
principle.
song.
Yeah. Speaking
Little
of the
rattle
rattle
and
song,
roll.
the most iconic scene in this movie, like I said earlier, is when that spirit of the forest turns into night mode, and all the little boys start shaking their cool little weird sideways faces. I love that shit.
Yeah.
I just was real bored for Billy Bob Thornton just dropping exposition for 15 straight minutes in a little hovel. All I could think about was like, wow, these guys really had to live like shit and camp constantly back in these days, which was just like a totally privileged way to look at the 1300s in Japan, in feudal Japan. Anyway, yeah, 3.8 out of 5. I think I probably rated it low for a lot of people, but at the same time, it's how I felt. It's how I felt. Kalen, why don't you take us home, brother?
You got it. Uh-oh. Am I here? Oh, I'm here. Okay. Steve, first, I gotta ask, how do you get your hat at that cool area of your head?
Cool area of my head.
Yeah, look at that. And it probably stays there too while you walk around.
Yeah, unless it's windy. I just roll it up a little higher than regular.
Okay. I don't think I can pull it off, but I will try. I'm not going to try, but I will say I'm.
How are you going to lay that into Princess Mononoke? We'll see.
So back to smearing blood all over my face. I mean, so
audible yawn from Steve.
I'm still sick.
What happened? Is it just something not serious, or is it COVID?
It's not COVID. Move along. Move along. These aren't the droids you're looking for.
So I'm gonna be completely honest with you guys. So when I saw this month's lineup, and then I saw this movie on it, and then I remembered like, oh, I remember seeing that thumbnail, and then I kind of just based on the crowd it was in, I kind of had a different assumption as to what kind of movie this was gonna be. I thought it might have been a little more gnarly or whatever, like a little more harsh, I guess. And then was comfortably surprised that it was not that. And it dealt with some real issues, real themes, the parallels with nature and everything, and like industrial human nature or whatever. Anyway.
Yeah, humans being industrial monsters who burn and like crush and turn everything into mud.
Well, this is what I've always asked. They say like, humans are like, the smartest, creatures or whatever. But like, how smart is a creature that destroys its own home?
Yeah,
you know
we're,
what I mean?
we're
like,
the most intelligent beings on planet Earth to a fault.
Right. Exactly. That's a good way to put it as well.
We could have
we're also the most selfish creatures.
Yeah. Well, and actually, I meant to say that earlier. You guys both talked about how so it's like, oh, this person, you think they're the shitty person. Like, no, they kind of have a good side of them, but in reality, everyone is kind of thinking about themselves. Like they'll be good to an extent where it's helpful to them or whatever, right? Like it's still, it could be painted as selfless to a certain respect, but it is actually all still selfish because it's all just personal gain or whatever. But I digress. But yeah, the themes. So there were some themes in the movie that there were some adult themes to the movie for sure. Jason, you mentioned about like, if it was a Disney version, I probably would have been more like, and I don't mean this in a bad way, I would have been more entertained in the sense of just like
there would have been songs every 12 minutes if it was a real Disney movie.
Yeah,
so.
It's like I would have been grabbed or whatever, right? I feel like I want to give this movie a few more watches because I still am, as I said earlier, kind of confused by it all and lost in it. It was very smooth and comfortable, but there was also like kind of like we were saying, like the show don't tell, and like there was Akira definitely had a lot of show don't tell, like it was just presenting you with shit. I was like, wait a second, well, how blah 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 blah, and this was kind of I didn't feel as invested to find out how or why, in a weird way. Like I found myself drifting a little bit. I think because it was so comfortable. So I do want to give it a few more watches so that I can, give it its just dues or whatever the expression is.
The check is in the mail.
Just dessert, I think is the phrase you were looking for.
I mean, that's a phrase. I also went in with an assumption, which I think kind of hindered like my experience of it as well. But that being said, the art to it, the animation to it was great. It looks great for sure. I'll give it lying in a field of tall grass with no thoughts other than enjoying the sun, and then going into having like a little bonfire with your friends or family, village people, and then going into like a little hut type thing of some sort, dreaming of wonders, and then doing it again the next day.
That's what I thought you were gonna keep going, and then going to work in the morning
raising a barn with my
red elk.
Again.
Yeah,
we're all hungover because we drank of mead and we sang of great battles.
We all get out our red ramen bowls and put muck into it.
Ramen,
delicious muck, delicious ramen.
One of the few anime movies where the food didn't immediately make me hungry. One thing in a lot of anime is like they always make the food look so delicious, but in this movie it's all like lumps of brown mush.
Yeah,
like,
he makes a gray slop and then puts brown flop into it in that hovel.
And then he says, "Ooh, that's good." After he tries it,
it goes back for seconds, like immediately.
Yeah.
Well.
Okay. Well, we've done it again.
We've done it again.
Yeah, I mean,
so what is it, 37? 38?
Is that the episode number?
Yeah.
36.
Oh, wow.
We've done a lot of these things.
Well,
but can we do another?
I wonder if we've done more with Steve now, Kaylin, than we did just the two of us. Because
I want to say yes, because I think we were like
bi-monthly and be up until 2021. In 2020, we were doing it like every 2 months.
Yeah.
For a while.
Yeah.
I was still
doing just once in a while. Yeah.
And then I stumbled across a Jaws episode.
And then we all just decided to do a monthly show.
If that came out sarcastic, I didn't mean to. It was supposed to be honest and genuine.
The thing is that your apology also sounded sarcastic.
And sarcastic. Always. That's how I live, disingenuously.
I think that's just how my voice sounds.
Perhaps.
Hey.
All right. Let's take us home, shall we? All the way home. This has been another episode of Hey, Did You See This One? We're going to be back next week with another animated movie. We've already dropped several hints about what that's going to be, but if you can't guess,
Kaylin, you need to
I don't know the sounds to it. It's going to be a first time I see it.
Kaylin, you need to go play through one whole Final Fantasy game in the next week. It's going to take
not the chibi one. The one with the big ass sword looks so cool, but
Final
then
Fantasy
he's like,
VII. Final Fantasy VII.
how come the game can't look like the cover? That's what I want to know.
Well,
Because it was 1996.
also it can now. For the Final Fantasy VII remake exists and is very good.
Does it have a sword? A big ass sword?
Yes, it's the character with the big sword you're talking about, but instead.
Yeah,
of...
but are you? I thought you were actually a different character. I thought they showed that character on the front,
that's the
but
main
you're
character.
actually a different character.
Hey, did you see this one?
Yeah. We're doing Final Fantasy Spirits Within next week.
Which has nothing to do with any of the video games, so that's why it's important that you keep that in mind.
Yes.
Me?
We won't have any.
Yes.
Yeah. The movie is nothing like the games. It's
When I'm talking about Final Fantasy Spirits Within and I'm referencing other Final Fantasies, it's just me doing that. It has no.
That's fine.
There's a cactar on the back of a jacket. Anyway, look. Talk about
Save it for next week.
Yeah. It's almost like it takes place in a world where everybody loved Final Fantasy, but Final Fantasy wasn't real.
Yeah, but didn't work for theaters at that time.
Yeah. All right.
Was a weird year.
So hopefully we have a lot to talk about for that one, but I'm not sure. I haven't seen it in a really long time.
Like Jason is just going to talk the whole episode, and then we'll be there like.
I thought Steve was going to talk this whole episode about Princess Mononoke, but I had stuff to say, so who knows? And Kaylin, if you've never seen this movie, Kaylin, you're going to enjoy it. It's a great sci-fi.
Is there more than one Final Fantasy movie?
Yeah,
not in this lore, but there are a few.
Yeah,
there's one with a girl, right? Are they all with a girl?
No.
Is there just one with a girl?
There's prequels and sequels to other Final Fantasies, but this is a standalone thing. This has nothing to do with any of the games.
That sounds like a good introduction for me.
Final Fantasy Advent Children is a sequel to Final Fantasy VII, the guy with the big sword. Final Fantasy there's a Final Fantasy 15 prequel, which happens hours before the game starts.
What's the highest Final Fantasy right now?
15.
15?
Yep.
They're slacking. They've been around for way more than 15
Well, they
years.
make them every 7 years.
They don't make one every year. It's insane. You know how long it takes to make a video game?
No, but they did kind of make one every year up until Final Fantasy 9. Every 2 years max, up until Final Fantasy 9 and 10. And Final Fantasy 10 is where it sort of stopped. And
did they use an X for the 10?
Yeah, of course they did, because it was the year 2000.
And they've always been in Roman numerals. So why would they stop doing it then? They're like they just stop at that point. They're like, no, people get confused. They think it's called Final Fantasy X. We got to put a number 10.
I would call it X though if I saw it. Like I know.
Yeah, also, Mega Man X wasn't Mega Man 10. Mega Man X was Mega Man X.
Listen, I worked at EB Games for a while, and the amount of people that asked me for Grand Theft Auto IV was insane.
No way. No,
insane.
Don't say that. Really?
So did you see this one?
Yeah, I saw this one. Hey, Kaylin, did you see this one?
Is this how we're doing the ending?
This is how we're ending it, because we decided to talk about Final Fantasy for fucking 15 minutes.
Hey, did you see this?
Nobody wants to hear about it.
No. Well, they want to hear it next week, because I'm gonna
not until next week anyway.
Yeah.
I'm sure I'll have questions for you, Jason.
Ooh,
that's gonna be my challenge. I'm gonna think of crazy abstract questions for you. So get ready.
I got you. I'm quick on my feet. Hey, did you see this one?
What about the
God.
one and then
end this episode?
Kaylin, shut up and say, hey, did you see this one?
Okay, but I thought we did the other thing before that part.
What other thing? No, we do that. We did it for Jason. I'm Kaylin after.
Okay.
Jason, I'm Kaylin. What?
All right. Hey, Jason. Hey. Did you see this one? Did you see this one?
Did you see this one?
Hey, did you see this one?
For Jason and Kaylin, I am Steven.
For Steve and Kaylin, I'm Jason.
And for Jason and Steven, I'm Kellen.
And you guys have yourselves a good night.
Good night.
And I just gotta ask, hey, did you see this one?
Oh, there we go. Finally.